Hello and welcome to the workshop. It is fantastic to have you here. And today we are making some Japanese Damascus steel. And, geez, my eyesight is not that bad. And also not Alex steel, but I am making some cool knives. I'll show you some of the ones that I've already made up. These are some of the knives that I have already made up, and I am freaking ecstatic about these. They are a Japanese Damascus steel, hammered Japanese Damascus one, and I just love these things. They are freaking awesome. Now this is actually the fourth time that I've made this video. I have started it and stopped it a couple times, but the first time that I made these knives up and I made 6 of them, and I thought, see if I whack them up on Facebook Marketplace, and they sold very, very quickly. I had 6 of them and I had about 70 messages asking to buy some of these. So I bought another 20 knives and I put them up on there and they lasted about an hour. And I had another 16 or 17 messages to get more of them because they are a freaking awesome knife. Now, another thing that happened, I had a baby. And yes, that's why you haven't seen very many videos from me in a little while. It's just so hard to do stuff with a baby. It's just ridiculously hard. I'll try and come out here and it's 3 o'clock already. My wife had to sleep in because he was up screaming half the night, and I picked him up at 6 a.m. and then, or 4 a.m. then 6 a.m. then. And I've had just some nights when I've tried to come out here and do it, and I've seen this video and my eyes are literally hanging outside of my head and I've just got no energy at all. And didn't make the funnest video. So, redo it. Now this is not a very good indication of a good knife, because any knife that is sufficiently sharp will will cut through these without the slightest bit of hesitation. And I'll show you guys what I mean. This is a piece of stainless steel. It's a very, very boring piece of stainless steel and there's nothing particularly special about it, but I'm gonna give this a very quick sharpen and make it sharp, and then you guys will see how similar this one is to that once it has been sharpened up. Now this isn't hardened, this isn't anything special at all, and I'll show you guys how fancy it can actually get. 2 seconds. And now this knife, I'll grab another piece of paper. Now, not a knife, but just a piece of steel that I have just sharpened up and made kind of sharp, shiny. Again, not a good piece of steel, not a sharp one, won't hold its edge. But it will cut, it will go through, well, maybe not quite as easy as the other one, but it will go straight through the paper like it is nothing, and it's just a regular piece of steel. Now, the thing about these knives, right at the very center, you can see, if it doesn't focus, there we go. Right at the very center, there is a core of what's called VG-10 steel. And that steel is very, very hard. That steel is that's harder than my $400 Wüsthof knives. It's harder than pretty much any commercial knife that I've had to this point. And because of that, it will hold its edge a hell of a lot better than any other sort of knife, which is why I love these ones. And I found myself a supplier that can sell these ones in blanks. So they come just like this. So they come like this, the knife ready to go, and then I get to put handles on it, which I love. I love putting handles on them, and I love doing this sort of stuff. I'll show you some of the ones that I've already made. So this is my little box of ones that I have already made. So this is my most popular one that I've actually sold so far. It is a, don't focus on me, focus on it, there we go. It is an aluminium with epoxy and aluminium shavings, and it's still a fantastic knife, and they have just sold so well. I've got a micarta knife that I've done up. So I laid together some micarta, and that just went so, so well. And this one is an olive. So it's an olive wood with some black epoxy through it, and I just love making these things because it's just literally so much fun coming up with all the different designs and finding different woods and pulling them together, and I just love doing it. So I have some more, and I'm gonna whack them up on the Facebook Marketplace or make a website, I haven't decided yet, and try and sell those ones again. So I have to get a little bit quicker at it because it's not much fun if you're spending forever trying to sand them down. So I've come up with a few different ways to make this thing a hell of a lot easier. And the first thing started with is making the epoxy ones. First time I did it, I made a little mold and put them inside of it, put the aluminium shavings in it and that sort of stuff. And then the second one, I made myself up a silicone mold. So I basically got a whole lot of and yes, I did have footage which died on the stupid camera. So basically I filled them up with aluminium shavings, aluminium strips, and that sort of stuff, and then pour some epoxy inside of it with a bit of black pigment, and then they come out. This one isn't the greatest one, since it's still sitting in there and it needs another one, but I'll show you some of the other ones that I've done up. But the better ones come out like that. And then it's pretty much just a matter of drilling a hole inside of this, edging out the little edges of it, and sticking a bit of epoxy, and they're done. Then I've just got to sand them down and pretty much done. They work out very, very well. Now this wood here is one that I actually took from my pizza oven. Pizza oven I made a while ago, and I had some wood, and I could not find for the life of me any decent sorts of hardwood that weren't basic jarrah or stringy bark. Now, I do love how the basic stringy bark, that's a jarrah handle there, and it's nice, came up well. Still happy with it. And this one's one of the stringy bark ones that came up, and they are good handles, they work quite well. But I just want a little bit of variety because I'm weird like that. And I have made up a few of them. This is my little box of handles that has pretty much all the ones. I made some stripy ones for some little bit of details. I made some, I'm not quite sure how that one's going to come up, but it's got a little bit of rot through it. So I was thinking about just stabilizing that with a bit of resin and seeing how it came out. And I have lots of them, but I have another 20 knives to make up. Oh no, more than that. 80, no, not 80. 40 knives to make up. So I have my little box of handles, and I've got to get a little bit better at actually making these, otherwise it's just going to take so long to be able to get through them. So I've just got a few tricks, and I'm going to show you guys how they go. I just use a very basic round over bit in my little router table to take the edges off it, just makes it a little bit quicker, and then set up a saw stop to be able to get the edges down, get the size of each handle down pretty quickly and repeatedly. I got a couple different timbers there, one stringy bark, the other one, I think it's a bit of a rose gum, I'm not 100% sure, but they all cut down pretty easily and it's a very hard wood. And then it's just a matter of hollowing it out with a drill bit. It doesn't need to be exactly in the middle, it's pretty easy to be able to wiggle it around a little bit because it's filled up with epoxy and it just works quite well. On the actual handle, there's a little bit of a notch on each side that gives a little bit more support to hold onto the blade itself. So I use a Dremel and then just notch out those bits and then just test fit to make sure they all fit pretty well. And then it's just a matter of sticking them all to the table. I found the best way was a hot glue gun and onto my welding table because they stick on there really well and then they snap off really well as well, which is kind of what you want. Now I know that 5-minute epoxies are much quicker for this sort of stuff, but the overnight setting epoxies hold a lot stronger and hold a lot better. So that's what I've been using for these. And I just got myself a 30-cent syringe, which makes it much easier to get the epoxy into it. Otherwise you're spilling it everywhere and it's just a pain in the butt. But for a 30-cent syringe, it just works so easily. I overfill them a little bit and then put the blades in there until a little bit of the epoxy dribbles out, and that's when I know they're pretty much done and it's fully seated inside of it. I'll go back and check to make sure that there isn't any bits that are wobbling off the side, but generally they sit pretty flat as long as I've cut them pretty flat on the table saw, on the drop saw in the first place. So next day, and these have spent the overnight. Next day, and this has spent the night drying up. So the epoxy is dead strong on this. And now it's just time to sand it down. So I got my little sander and I'm basically gonna round off all the edges. When I do it, I'm gonna make sure that I keep it quite straight because these handles aren't always exactly on straight. They have a little bit of a habit of being annoying. But yeah, pretty easy going. So sand it down, keep it straight on that angle, straight on that angle with parallel to the blade, that angle, parallel to the blade, and then you end up with a pretty straight handle. Pretty simple. One more quick tip before I start. Anti-laceration gloves, because those knives are sharp as hell. I know you're not supposed to wear gloves when you're working on machinery and stuff, but so many cuts just making these already, and this just saves me so many stupid little cuts. Okay, so that was a quick one. Those ones there, I'm going to fill up with a bit of epoxy because there's a little bit of a gap. And I find bits like that seem to happen, so I usually fill them up with a bit of epoxy again. just a quick drying stop. But that's one down, 40 to go. Usually I just circle through the grits, so I started on a very coarse grit, go up to a finer grit, put that through the sander. Hopefully I'll upgrade to a nicer sander at some stage, but this one does the job and works pretty well. But I think that's on about a 240 grit, and then I get out my little palm sander and put it through that one to about 600 grit, which gives me a very nice fine finish on it. And then I just give it a very quick go over the buffing pad, which gives it a very nice finish and just makes it come off. It just gives it something. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it just makes it very nice before I do the final coat of oil on top of it. For the epoxy handles, I use a bit of buffing compound and the calico cloth after I've sanded it down by hand to about 800 grit, and I find a few coats over that just brings up the shine from the epoxy fantastically. It just makes it a mirror finish, and I love how that cloth does it on those. Just have a look how well that comes out. I'm just loving it. For the first coat of paint, the first coat of oil, I usually do a half turpentine, half boiled linseed on it, and it's a nice sealer coat, so it sucks it into the wood itself, and then the turpentine evaporates out. So I'll give it a day after it's had this coat to suck it all in and then dry out a little bit, and then I go along with another 4 coats, which comes out fantastic. So these knives behind me all have about 4 coats of boiled linseed behind me, and they are pretty much done. Like I say, they all come out of the factory razor sharp, so I don't need to worry about sharpening, I don't need to worry about anything like that, and I am really happy with how they're coming up. Have a look at this one. This one's one that I just did up. It's got some gold leaf and fleck and that sort of fun stuff throughout it, and it's one of the ones that I cool. It's one of the ones I really like how it came out. It's just gold leaf. A lot of gold leaf in the handle. Pretty cool. Now, I've also got some little tackers, so I've got all my little paring knives. Let's say they all need a little bit of clean up. They've got a little boiled linseed on them, but it won't take very much to actually do them. But I love how these things have actually come up. And since I started making this video, just this batch here, I sold about 6 of them to people who'd already bought some. So I figured I made myself a website. Well, I'm currently making the website, it's almost there, and by the time this video comes out, I'm planning to have it done because I want to make a whole lot of pretty shots of these ones and make myself a little light booth where they look a little bit closer, and make videos like this just so it shows them off a little bit better and it makes them look a lot better. But if you guys are curious and actually want to buy one of these, like, I don't really want to spruik too much stuff on YouTube. I'm planning on putting ads on Instagram and that sort of stuff. But if you guys want to do it, the website is Your Last Knife. I figured Your Last Knife had kind of nice ring to it, and to be honest, this sort of knife is really going to be the last sort of knife you're actually going to need, because they are sensational steel. Because this sort of knife will hold its edge a hell of a lot better than any other sort of steel. Especially some of the really expensive ones. It beats the hell out of my Wolfstoffs, my Monday L's, all of the other knives which were quite expensive, and I just love how these things have come out. So if you guys want to check out the website, it is yourlastknife.com. And I've got to give you guys a discount because it's YouTube people and you guys are my people. So I'm going to give about a $10 discount. There's a coupon thingy that I can actually put in there, which is quite tricky. So $10 discount for anybody. It's in Australian dollars. So these ones I was selling for about $125 each, and $10 discount to anybody on YouTube that actually wants to buy one. So you use the code YouTube in the, it sounds like an ad, I haven't done one of them before. But yeah, use the code YouTube in the checkout and you'll be able to get $10 off, because I really do love how these things are coming out. And I'm going to go do some quick chopping videos to try and show these ones off a little bit in the website, and I hope you guys got something out of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. So I'll see you guys next time, and I'm going to have to start taking some photos. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.